we wanted to talk about nsec.app because that's, I think, one of the main areas you're focused on. And there's a lot going on in like key management. And I'd like to hear a little bit of like just overall how that ecosystem is evolving and sort of what are the best practices and what should we be doing and sort of what are the goals of nsec.app. And then you were mentioning how you're interested in following along and stuff around ecash and Blossom and hardware zappers and signers. And then I think there's just like open source software development versus kind of commercial aims. So that's some of the kind of the agenda that we discussed. So just kind of laying it out there in case people are wondering what we're up to. So that sounds good still. Anything else to add?
Yeah. I think we can start. And the NSEC App, has been the main focus for a while. And I think the main goal of it,
I think
obviously, is like
I lost you a little bit.
Improving the.
So?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But
yep.
I guess I should turn off the streaming on another device. Okay. So NSEC App is a signer, and it's essentially like a different version of NSEC Bunker, the thing that allowed you to sign remotely, to use your keys remotely, so that they could be stored somewhere. You wouldn't have to paste them into each and every app, and you wouldn't have to install extensions. So
are there generally three approaches to this today? Like there's NSEC Bunker is kind of the almost like a server side approach, and then the signing, I guess, extensions are like browser extensions are like kind of the very client side approach, and then nsec.app is kind of the web approach to solving similar problems.
Yeah. So well, obviously you could solve this problem with just pasting the NSEC into an app, but we'll kind of believe it's not the best strategy. So you probably would want to have it in a separate place, even just for having like a log of all the stuff that had access to your keys and what was signed, that what was happening with them. Even from that perspective, even if it's not like more safe in some security focused way, and even if you trust all the apps you're using, it's still like a good idea to have it in one place. Yeah, so the protocol that it's using is called Nostr Connect, and both NSEC Bunker and NSEC App implement that protocol. And there are other apps, by the way, that do it. There's Amber, Android app. It has built in the native Android native like signing protocol. Amethyst supports it, and recently they implemented the Nostr Connect protocol too. And then there is Gossip client. It also has the Nostr Connect protocol implemented as a server. So like if your keys are inside the Gossip client, then you can connect to other apps and they will talk to your keys living inside Gossip. Well, as long as the Gossip is launched and running on your desktop, let's say. And so my wish to have like the web solution is like part of a bigger like picture I have in my head, where Nostr is not just used, like the Nostr protocol is not just used as a set of social media apps, but like in more broad way on the web to sign into apps, to at least at first, like to attach all those social engagements to other apps, to other websites. Like you would probably want to have like to be able to like and comment and highlight on some random website that wants to give you those abilities. And that could be done through Nostr, and then people would have to like somehow sign into Nostr on that website. And how would they do it? And there again, you would have like three approaches: paste your key, or use an extension, or use Nostr Connect with some service. And I think the NSEC app is pretty easy to use because it, on the one hand, you don't like paste your NSEC in and let it be stored on a server, which is the idea behind NSEC Bunker. Like most of the people that I talk to are not comfortable doing this. Because like
with their bunker approach,
you paste it once, you paste it once, and you know it's on some server, and then it's like infinite time for it to be compromised. So yeah, that was like at some point I realized that NSEC Bunker is not usable in those use cases that I wanted to like develop. So we decided to try and build the NSEC app, which is non-custodial. It stores your keys inside the browser, and the Nostr Connect server is working inside the service worker in the browser. And,
I see. So everything you have
so
no
yeah, I
server
think
component to how you manage your keys in
there
NSEC app.
is a server component. There is a server component that just wakes up the service worker whenever it detects that there are pending requests that no one is serving. It will ping the service worker for it to wake up and to use the keys to fulfill the request. And we also were building the Nostr logging, like client side of the Nostr Connect. It's a library that any app can use, and if they don't want to like implement Nostr Connect specifically, but now it's even broader. It supports like all the other Nostr login options. And so there are like a dozen probably now apps that support Nostr Connect. It's not as like wide support as extensions, but it's still pretty good on the web. And the main differences from extensions, aside from the fact that you don't have to install one, and most people don't really know how to do it and probably are sort of scared of it. The other differences are that, for instance, you can have several keys inside NSEC app, and they can all work together. If you have an extension, then you have to switch between keys. But if it's NSEC app, you don't have to switch. Both of them are available, and you can like use one key in one app and another key in another app. And then the keys don't have to be like really imported into this particular device or this particular browser that you're using. It can be like on your phone and you're using the desktop or vice versa. That might be like a consideration from security or like privacy perspectives. And it also allows you to, like the Nostr Connect, this remote access protocol, it also allows you for various like non-interactive use cases. Like if you want some service to perform activities on Nostr on your behalf while you sleep, let's say, then there's no way to use an extension there. And essentially the only way there is to use Nostr Connect, aside from like giving the service your keys.
The server is going to wake up your local browser or something and help it sign a transaction while you're sleeping?
Yeah, well, NSEC app, this particular use case is a little bit like less supported, let's say, by NSEC app, because if you're sleeping, then most probably all of your devices are sleeping too. So it might not be the best idea with NSEC app, but like the Nostr Connect, let's say, gossip client, if you leave your desktop device up and running, well, you could leave NSEC app and the browser running on your desktop app. That's kind of the same thing. And then we're actually working now on a like different, let's say, hosted version of NSEC app where you can install it on your Umbro server, and it would essentially work like NSEC Bunker. Like it would store your keys on your Umbro server
that you run on your own.
Yeah. This one is particular for those particular cases where you kind of need your keys running all the time and doing work on the background. So yeah, like I think Nostr Connect in general has like the most potential here for the broad like adoption, because it covers a lot of use cases, and
and is that
maybe
when you say Nostr Connect, is that's the same as Nostr Wallet Connect?
No, it's a different thing. It's essentially the same idea, but Nostr Wallet Connect lets you talk to the wallet, which holds your keys for your Bitcoin. But here you are talking to your Nostr keys. But the idea is essentially the same. and implementation is like similar, not identical, but very similar.
And so if you get nsec.app is kind of the self-custodial Nostr kind of signing service, and you're building a way to make it available to be used maybe on an umbrella or your own device in different ways. Do you think that like this is something that I guess it starts a little bit centralized, but has potential then for lots of people to run the software in many different configurations or ways, so that like nsec.app as a website doesn't become kind of a single point of failure or kind of single throat to choke?
Well, first of all, the code is open source, so anyone can run it. And someone created a Docker image of the like complete installation to have your own NSEC App instance up and running. There's not much point like in doing this because it's non-custodial, so you kind of really just making sure that there's no way for us to like cut you off in some way or like shut down the website.
Right.
But aside from that, there's not much point in that. But I'm also not sure if like aside from people who really understand what they're doing, like people who maybe have Umbrel at home and are able to like pay the price for self-custodying their keys and self-hosting their all those services, that's fine for them to like run it. Or maybe they're gonna use like something like a gossip client, or maybe one of the native apps becomes a Nostr Connect server, MP store, Damos, which they don't want, but maybe they will. But like more broadly for people who are new to all this and are and they need a service that they sort of trust, then I don't think there will be like many popular ones because maybe there will. It's like we don't. It's hard to imagine the network without this like winner take all effects because that's the only thing we've seen. But like how much of that distribution was driven by the lack of sort of web of trust discovery algorithms is like a big question to me now. Like, imagine that everything we discovered on the web and on social worked through web of trust, through your like closed network, then maybe it wouldn't be that centralized from the get-go. Maybe. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think also like the pairing of client with data is what really causes centralization frequently. So if you can, with a lot of, because data and client are so separated, you actually, any user can exit if somebody's behaving badly, right? I think mostly you just need to support the ability to exit, to ensure that people, don't get stuck.
Yeah, so we've got like a key export button on NSEC App.
Yeah.
It doesn't export the key in sort of plain text, NSEC it exports it in encrypted form. There's a new NIC for that. But yeah, if you want, you can just back up your key and just use another service. It's not like you can back up your key. You should back up your key, and we're gonna build ways for you to have that done for you automatically in various ways, like, I don't know, Google Drive or something, if you are using that or anything like this. And so, yeah, you just take your key and put it into another signer if something happens to NSEC App or another service that you are using.
What's the latest with kind of, I guess there's all these ideas around key management, like delegation and rotation and stuff like that. What are the latest things happening in kind of Nostr key management? Are there NIPs outstanding to try to help with, I don't know, like you mentioned the NSEC bunker, one of the challenges is it's stuck on the server for all time. Is there any kind of like time limit, or is there sort of a way you can delegate a key that has a limited time, or like, is there a lot of movement in that area, or mostly that's not being addressed?
I'm not particularly like up to date on all the NIPs because there are quite many of them being discussed and proposed. But as far as I know, nothing new around this was getting like a lot of attention. I think it's mostly driven like by demand. I think like some part of it is driven by curiosity. Like Pablo has submitted a NIP that would allow you to rotate your keys, and it's
Mm-hmm.
probably driven by like his curiosity, and it's sitting there in the idle for like 6 months. And
I
I
see.
guess like these things, they do not get adopted because like there is no real demand for that yet. And demand for key rotation will probably come from someone like attacking Nostr, I guess. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it or some more serious people trying to get into Nostr
Right.
and then starting to complain like I'm a business, I'm something, I can like use this thing without like having a way to maintain my identity and rotating keys, etc. So
Yeah.
uh, I
It
think
sounds like maybe you're
like I
aiming
see
for a. Oh, go ahead.
I see complaints about like Nostr having not yet solved all those problems, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's because they are unsolvable, and at least in practical ways, not like in some perfect ways. Maybe they are unsolvable perfectly,
Right.
but like in some practically good ways, they are not solved because there is no demand. That's my
I see.
feeling.
And if I understand right, like your goal with NSEC.app is to help simplify kind of key management for a new user who's maybe not as informed about all the details or maybe not super technical. So if I understand right, is the goal of NSEC app is to be more accessible to somebody who's not as deep on maybe key management or cryptography and stuff.
Well, in my head, I always had it in a way, it was like revolving around web. Like imagine we somehow get people start adopting Nostr on various websites for one
Mm-hmm.
reason or another. They want to like connect to Nostr. They want to use Nostr as identity layer, etc. And well, how should they like how does their like funnel look like? How does their onboarding look like? Like, do they have to instruct people to install extensions? Which one? And like, how does it all look?
Mm-hmm.
There's immediately like enormous friction there, I think. And the NSEC app and NSEC Bunker, by the way, being like a pure web apps, they feel like at least plausible like solutions for someone to integrate them into their like onboarding flow and to hope that sort of users who are new to Nostr and who have not read about Nostr and who have come to some third-party website, they didn't come there for Nostr. They came for like the purpose of that website.
Yep.
And this web-based solution at least has a chance to like working for them. And
Right.
if we like polish it enough and simplify it enough, then that onboarding can start to work. That's like my goal with it. And it turns out that Nostr Connect, as I said, seems like the better approach to like accessing your keys. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
from several directions, it's a better solution for me. Like right now, uh, I use it on my phone in default browser without having to install like Kiwi browser with an extension, and I'm using
Right.
several accounts. And right now I'm using like a command line tool with the Nostr Connect connected to my keys. Anyone who is like technical enough but hasn't tried it yet, I like encourage you to try it because uh, I think it's like just a simpler and better and more uh,
Yeah.
feature rich
And
and has more
and I'm
potential.
looking at the in the live stream we have chat going. I wanted to ask one of the
Hmm.
questions. So Arcanox also zapped 1,000 sats. So thanks, shout out to Arcanox for supporting the live stream. That's going right to Artur. But the question from Arcanox is, what are some Nostr apps that use nsec.app currently? I want to try it out. And he said that Nostr doesn't work at the moment from his test. So I wonder if like, do you need it? Does the app need to support Nostr Connect as like a protocol to be able to use this kind of login?
Yeah, so app has to support Nostr Connect. It can have its own implementation, like Nostrudel has their own implementation. Coracle and
Mm-hmm.
Snort, they three have their own client for Nostr Connect. And then there is abla.news edge.pages. What's there? Slidester. I actually have an Excel file with all the clients that support to connect. Like several clients use NDK Atlas library, so they also support it. Okay, so there is Snort, Zapstream, not yet. Nostr app.link, Nostr band, Nostr nests, Gator, Nostr.wine, Slidester, Nostr by Xuz, and Wikifreedia.xyz by Pablo, and Highlighter, by the way. Highlighters used to work only with NSEC Bunker, but now works with our app too. So
Great. And
there are
do people learn
three,
about
four.
nsec.app while they're logging into one of those services? Like, do they start thinking about, oh, I want to use Coracle, and then they learn to log in with NSEC app as part of that usage? Or are they starting with nsec.app, creating an identity, and then sort of discovering what services to use?
It's a really good question. So I think the only app that like forces you to go through Nostr Connect sign up flow, aside from maybe Highlighter, because Pablo is building it, is the Nostr Nests, like the new Nests app that Kieran and Derek are building. I think they have like the only option while you sign up is to choose. It may be even they hard-coded NSEC app, maybe. I'm not sure at this point, but there you have to go through like the Nostr Connect sign-up flow. If you choose NSEC app, then you are gonna be creating keys inside it, and then through like a pop-up window, and then you're back to using Nostr nests. And yes, and since there are lots of like browser quirks to get it working flawlessly, related to like how pop-ups are being blocked and in different browsers, etc. It is not working very well, especially on Safari, and then there is like there is like my recent thinking here is that if a user already has keys, Nostr keys, then they're going through a different flow, like they're going through login flow, and they will probably ask for all the options out there. Like maybe I want to paste my NSEC, or use an extension, or use Nostr Connect, or use Bunker URL, or use something. There are a dozen of those. But for new people, it would seem to me like you're better off just generating keys inside the app first, to remove like all the friction. Just ask for a username, like test user, okay, and that's it. They've got
you're saying
some keys,
start
and they
within the app you want to use and just have that app generate keys for you.
Yeah.
The first time you touch Nostr.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna like think through how normal users are gonna come and use an app, I think that's like the best way to start.
And when you said
they can start
username,
using,
I actually want to hear more about that, because I know that part of what you're thinking about is usernames. And do you imagine that that is like kind of just automatically make NIP5 for whatever service creates the keys for you? Or is that kind of becoming a standard?
No, I mean just imagine an app generates your key, and the name that it's asking you, it's just like your nickname. It's not like Npubs or anything. It does not have to be unique. It's just to be there, so that if you make a comment, or engage in the app, like your profile would have something, at least like a username. And so the user would come and they would click like button, and there would be a pop-up asking for their username, and they click OK, and that's it. Like the like is posted. And then they engage with the app for like
specific to the app, or it's mapping to.
I don't think so. They can just use
display
random thing that they want, because any Nostr user can like type any username they want as their name. And then after a while, if they care enough really about this app, and if they sort of want to keep using it and if blah, 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 there are lots of like ways to decide when to nudge them to further learn about what Nostr is and how it works and what the keys are and what's happening. Like they posted a like, but where is it posted really and all that.
Right.
And then you sort of start nudging them to learn about Nostr. And then maybe you will say, well, now maybe you're ready to sort of move your keys into some proper
Right.
place.
You sort of first figure out what it is and find something you want to use. Yeah. You kind of create an account almost thinking it's throwaway, and if you end up getting more invested in it, then you can take more, better kind of key hygiene and management.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we are now like going to add in Nostr login and NSEC App. So it's actually already there in a development branch in the Nostr login, but NSEC App now has to be able to like import an existing key in an automated way. Like it can already be done by copy pasting it, but it would be better if it was like automated. So maybe in a couple of weeks we're gonna show you how that can work. I think this approach is like most promising in terms of utilizing the full like powers of Nostr, because it really is that simple to create a Nostr account. It's just you click a button and it's there, and you have joined Nostr. You don't need to solve a CAPTCHA or something, and of course you don't have to do KYC. You don't have to like do 100 things that you are sort of used to.
You have to set up profiles. You don't have to do passwords and all that, right?
Yeah. And I think we should use that to, like, if we want to have any chance to improve the onboarding, because like this thing is different and people don't like different. They don't like learning new stuff and they have discomfort about it. So the less friction we're gonna have, the better. We have enough friction with just telling them that this is keys or something, and removing all the other obstacles, I think, is a good way.
So on this, I actually wonder, because I agree with you that people are generally like averse to change and they sort of, feels awkward or unfamiliar. But I wonder and I'm not advocating for this, but I'm just curious if people have tried. Like, I think one thing that may help users is actually feeling more like a standard login process where they do have to create a username and password, and maybe somebody creates a wrapper around a key so that your first sign up feels more normal. And then you learn about it deeper, and then you learn about all the superpowers, and you actually don't need to rely on that login and password. Is anybody sort of experimenting with that idea, just to sort of make, bridge the familiar to the unfamiliar?
I think, well, I would say that Pablo is probably working on something like this, because his approach with the highlighter. Well, first of all, he wants also to sort of optimize for onboarding new people that will come to, I guess, creators that are gonna use highlighter. And so he would have to optimize their onboarding, and with NSEC Bunker, like sort of in his mind, where it's also a web-based solution, and he could have, like, highlighter could have its own NSEC Bunker. So for a user that's using highlighter, it's essentially like a standard create account flow, where this thing is asking for a username and email and password, and you click OK and you go on. And I think there's just like not nearly enough experimentation like in this particular area, like trying to figure out what would work better for onboarding new users. And then it's very hard to tell like who are those new users, because like there are a couple, 200, 300, 500 people per day joining Nostr. It's not like a huge flow, and most of them probably come from some niches that for some reason are driving traffic to Nostr. And so maybe those people, something will work for those people, but like a year from now, something else will work for the next cohort. So yeah, I don't have a great answer here. All I'm saying is Nostr allows for this kind of thing, where a server does not have to like try to screen the user, ask for password, ask for CAPTCHA, try to rate limit them, try to fight bots. Well, because we sort of delegate the idea of fighting bots to someone somewhere out there on the relays. That's a different question. But yeah, this is the approach that I think we're gonna try to implement with NSEC app and Nostr login, and then like every app that uses Nostr login will just auto magically have this thing working, and we'll see.
Cool. So should we try to actually move to screen share and look at this? Like I know you mentioned you're on a different computer that may not be set up for it. So I'm happy to try screen sharing from my side if you'd prefer, or if you think you might have it set, we can do yours. Up to you.
Okay, let me try sharing everything. Yeah. Many people there.
Okay.
Okay, so
I can
this
see
is this is NSEC app, sort of empty without keys.
The default experience is I start by visiting nsec.app, or I start by visiting an app that uses nsec.app?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like if you were, let's say, on Nostr.band and you wanted to sign up, and you wanted to, let's say, follow this guy, and then this thing would tell you login to follow, and you would click login, and you would see this Nostr login screen, which is far from ideal, but
and can we just pause here for a second? So there's login, there's sign in with extension, there's advanced login, which expands further, and then there's sign up. So is this, I wanted to see what these options are. So I guess login, it means I'm going to paste an NSEC. Is that right?
No, logging is Nostr Connect login. And there's no paste your NSEC here. I guess people are going to ask for it, but we haven't added it yet. And I hope we won't have to.
Okay, so login is if you're already familiar with the Wallet Connect ecosystem, or sorry, Nostr Connect ecosystem. I see.
Let's say if you click login, then you're going to just have to paste your Npub5 Artur at nsec.app username and click login, and it should work. But let's try with the sign up thing. And I would have to paste here something.
I hear you're just making up some name that it's not being connected to the. It's not like you're creating nostraband123 at nsec.app as a NIP05. You're not doing that as part of this, right?
Yes, that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Okay, so this is
I could choose highlighter here.
It's unique to.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You have other
unique
NIP05 providers too.
Yeah, well, right now there's only highlighter.com here. There's actually a way to like discover them from Nostr, but it's not here yet. And
got it.
And so this, let's say, if I wanted to use the name Nostr, then it's already taken, and it's telling me about it here.
Yep. Nostraband.
And Nostraband is not taken. Nobody cared enough to take this name. So let's try taking it now. We're going to click create account.
Continue to confirm the connection to your key storage.
Yeah, this stage is sort of seems unnecessary, but it's really necessary to make sure the pop-up is not blocked that will open when I click this.
Oh, I see. So you've explicitly allowed your browser to allow that pop-up.
Yeah.
But somebody who hasn't been through that yet might have to allow pop-ups from this website?
No. The opening windows in browsers, opening new tabs, is only allowed when after explicit user action. And this is sort of a vague term.
Yep.
And Chrome interprets it like more generously and allows you to have like to open a window, let's say, in 1 second after a user clicked a button. But Safari is very strict, and if it didn't open in like, I don't know, 50 milliseconds, then it will block it. And so, and then user would have to and on Safari, it won't even notice, it won't even notify the user. Like it will just block it and that's it. Yeah. User has no idea that something was going to happen. And so this stage is like, turns out this stage is critical for a reliable work of this thing.
So here you're
and so we're gonna
setting a password. Okay, so this is kind of,
I'm just
gonna sort of wrapping your private keys in what feels like a username password flow.
Yeah. So the idea was that exactly what you asked about a couple of minutes ago, where this flow kind of resembles what you see in other, or let's say what users familiar with, and so the hope is that they will not feel too alien here, and there's some text here about Nostr keys, etc. But as I said, I think it's still too early, like for Nostr band user to start learning about all of this, because I just wanted to follow someone or just click something. But anyway, if I'm sort of motivated enough, I will enter my password, and it says that it will ask me to enable notifications now. So I'm gonna click create account and click permit, and kind of that's it. I can close this window now, and I'm Nostr band user now, connected through Nostr Connect, and I can follow people, and I can create lists, like I can use the app, and then here's the thing. This is the NSEC App interface now. We can see that there is a Nostr band account here. That's a pub key, and that's your username. You may change that, by the way, if you wanted to.
And what was?
And then there is one connected app.
That pop-up we were just looking at. Can we just look at that one more time? Because I wanted to see what else. There was something else on there. So there's.
You can transfer the username, like. Yeah, so if you have taken a really valuable username, Nostr band, and then you want to transfer it to someone, it's like you're transferring just this NPUB5 sort of label to another Npub. And
got it.
Some people generate throwaway keys in NSEC App, but take some valuable username, and then they don't know how to
but if they throw away
transfer,
the keys, they can't
how to make their real keys. Yeah. Well, they have to click transfer here, and then the receiving Npub has to change their name to that name that is being transferred. So it's like on both sides, both users have to take an action. And so there is Nostr band connected now here, and on Windows, on Chrome.
Yeah, what does that mean?
There's a list of permissions. Well, that's my operating system and the browser that I was using to make this connection, because you might be using different devices and browsers, and each connection will have these markers to simplify like understanding of where this is coming from.
Later?
Yeah, well, let's see what the permissions are. So let's delete the permission to update the contact list. Oh, failed. Very nice. Deleted successfully. Okay. So let's say now we try to update our contact list again. And what's going to happen is here Nostr login library is telling us that our key storage needs the confirmation from us, and you have to click like confirm. And then there is a pop-up here which shows which connection.
Oh, I see.
With these like icons of the where this is happening, like where on which device you created that connection, because you might be seeing this screen. For instance, I might look at the screen on a different device now at the same permission request. So I will say allow, and it will go through, and we'll see again the permission is added here. And you can add permissions manually. You can specify which permission, which event kinds you want to allow this thing
These
or
are the
disallow.
Permissions that Nostr.band can have without needing a special signing moment, like a manual signing moment.
Yeah. So you can add some permissions to like so that NSEC App wouldn't ask for confirmation, and you can say like always allow or always disallow, and then for these specific requests, it will not bother you with confirmation screens. And then there is an activity.
Do you have something like a
tab,
easy, high, medium, low, where you can say, give me all the very safe ones, but ask me about anything else, or like make me sign every event?
We have something. I think we have something better, really. So the Nostr Connect spec NIP was like updated like a month ago with this new idea of an app being able to like request certain permissions when it was requesting a connection. So let's say we're gonna log out.
It's gonna want to do.
Yeah. Let's log out here and then try to log in back. By the way, this Nostr login widget remembers that you logged in with Nostr band at NSEC App, and it allows you to like one-click reconnect if you want to. Right. Okay, so you can see that first we already had some Nostr band connections, and you can just reuse permissions that you have given before. Or you can see that the app actually specified what it wants to do. It wants to update your contact list, and it also wants to sign these two kinds. And so you can choose either of them, or you can just like select manually what you want to do. And that's it. So I think and then if we deleted this app, it would just show the list of requested permissions. Like it wants to do this and that. I think this is a much better like approach because those low, high things, they might work for some niche where if you assume that all the apps are social apps, then maybe you're going to say that it's okay to sign kind 1, but it's not okay to sign kind 3. Something like this. But the more the ecosystem grows, the less sort of meaningful those thresholds will become, and it's better for apps to just request specific permissions that they want to have, and then the user can and most users will probably accept the default list, but if they sort of want to advanced control, then we show them just the list of requested permissions, and they can check the boxes, and that's it. So I think
and this little N kind of widget thing on the side, is that part of the Nostr.band website? Did you drop something in from the Nostr login stuff, or is that?
Yeah, this is Nostr login library.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Nostr login library. It's like a small widget here through which you can control. By the way, it supports many accounts, so we can add another account here. And you can have you could sign in with extension, let's say, or we can have read-only mode. Let's say we can log in like Jack. And that's it, we are Jack. And we can switch to, and by the way, Jack is not following these guys, so these buttons are not green, and then I switch to Nostr band and the UI updates. So this thing and there's a marker here that this is read only, this is like Nostr Connect.
Cool.
So I think Nostr login is pretty cool thing if you wanna just have all the good ways to log in through Nostr without having to implement them all yourself.
So are these becoming kind of standard UI components, or are you sort of using this as a demo and then talking to people developing other apps to try to get some sort of standardization for how kind of this login and connection works?
Well, I generally get three kinds of responses. First kind is we are not interested, and then the second kind is okay, this is cool, and people just drop this thing into their app and have it working. Because the only thing they supported before were extensions, where they just expected to have window.nostr object and didn't bother to really implement anything. And the third category, they kind of believe that they want much more control over how this thing looks and how it behaves and how which screens are shown, etc. And we've got some ways to customize it already, but maybe depending on like the demand and maybe on our own sort of needs, maybe we're going to develop more options to customize it. So it's actually pretty customizable. Like you can launch a specific screen, like you don't have to show this banner all the time, or you don't have to have this particular screen or this particular screen. You can open the one you want and get user to fill it and get the resulting sort of authentication data button. And I also wrote this nostrlogin.org sort of helper page about how to do Nostr login on your app or website. So if anyone out there in comments listening, go check it out. Might be useful.
That's nostrlogin.org.
It will talk here about how and why Nostr can be used as an identity layer in your app, and which options you have, and so yeah.
Cool. And is NSEC.app and kind of the login problems you're solving, do you sort of have a roadmap for what you want to accomplish next, or do you sort of need just more other developers to adopt it to sort of help generate what the roadmap would be, kind of based on demand?
I think as I said, there are two things like short term that we're working on. First is like being able to import an existing key in an integrated sort of automated way where let me stop sharing for a moment. Like if an app has generated keys for the user and then I've decided to direct user to let them back up their keys into some provider, then this flow should be like automated and without copy pasting and without all the extra stuff that you might be doing manually. And then hopefully some app, either us or someone, will like start experimenting with this particular approach to see if like it is more frictionless and if it results in some good user experience, I guess. And then Second part is the hosted version of it, of the NSEC app, because like I have seen several going into the direction of like using Nostr for more than just, well, let's say for non-interactive apps, let's say for non-interactive things, and there you would need essentially an NSEC bunker. And I'm not sure why people are not using NSEC bunker itself, but I've seen a lot of complaints that they kind of struggle to sort of install it and have it working on their hardware.
Are there any key
So yeah, I guess
examples
we're
of
just
like
gonna.
non-interactive apps that kind of come to mind as the kind of thing? Because I'm not
Well,
familiar with non-interactive apps that
well,
are
let's say the
being worked on.
x2nostr.com that we've built a while ago and which is now no longer really working, but this thing, it would post using your keys, it would cross-post your stuff from Twitter,
Right.
which kind of means that you might not be online, or
I
at
see.
least like your device with your keys might
You're
not be
interacting
online
with Twitter,
right
but
now.
not interacting with Nostr. So from a non-interactive
Yeah, yeah,
perspective, it's kind of
yeah,
reposting for you.
yeah. And so I think I'm not really following through all the ideas that ecash like guys are putting
Yeah.
out there, because like they have two cool new ideas per day and it's like impossible to follow all of that. But I sort of imagine let's say a mint with a Nostr based on Nostr keys or something that is doing some work for you in the background for the users. Or let's say if you are a creator and you want to have some automations with your account, like you want to greet your new followers with a direct message, and I don't know,
I see.
with
Yep.
the reward or something, then again you're gonna need some service that will do that for you. You will give them a Nostr Connect access to your keys, and they're gonna do it like day and night. So there's like all the integrations that you can sort of that could come to your mind if you remember how the traditional software social networks work, where you just give access to some service to your account and it does something with it. That's kind of thing. It's all non-interactive and it's all in the background, and it requires essentially Nostr Connect. There's no other way to access keys at the moment, like a standard protocol for it.
Yeah.
But there
Cool.
are not many
Well,
apps
that
like
gives
this. But
yeah, I was gonna say that gives a lot of kind of a lot more clarity on sort of how NSEC.app works, and I'm gonna try it on my own off the live stream, and I think I can
yeah,
have a little bit
it
more
should work
context on it.
fine on Mac desktop. It should work fine. It should not work fine on iOS. It's
Right.
really hard to make it work on iOS. You have to go to operating system settings and change something there first, and then you have to like install NSEC app as a PWA on your home screen, and then it will be able to like do the signing in the background properly. So this part is sort of very annoying, but nothing to do about it, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, on
And
Mac,
so, are
it
there
should
other
work.
categories within NSEC.app? Are there other things that we should be thinking about or knowing about, or should we kind of talk about some of the other topics we had in mind?
Let's see. Well, I guess the idea that, sorry, the idea that I should like speak about is that Nostr is a very sort of different architecture in terms of like how you could build apps. And the cool thing is that it allows you to build apps that are not custodial, not cloud, but sort of work in the same, like provide the same service as the cloud services, but make this thing non-custodial or non-centralized. And let's say you want to have a email newsletter and someone clicks subscribe enters their mail and clicks subscribe. Right now, this information, this sort of message that someone is subscribing to a newsletter has to go to a server, which is like newsletter management app of some sort. And it's usually paid, and it's usually centralized, and it's usually requires KYC and all that stuff. But with Nostr, when the user clicks subscribe, we can generate an Npub for him, and we can send an encrypted message to the newsletter writer to some relay. Then his desktop newsletter management app can read that message from the relay and can add that user to the list of subscribers. And then when he writes an email, like the next email, he will have to use a email sending service, but the newsletter management thing can happen on his device non-custodially, without cloud, without all the implications of having it work in the cloud. And another thing might be the online sort of analytics. Let's talk about this one, which every website has, and every website sends data to Google Analytics, and they run this product for free in order to be able to like collect all the data from everywhere and then use it for their own purposes. And here, same thing, like user visits your page, we can generate an Npub and we can send an event, this hit page view event, to the owner of the website, and their desktop app can read it and can show proper statistics to me, but without Google controlling it and mining this data and selling it, etc. And so I don't think this like changes the world necessarily, like from these two couple examples. Your mind will not probably be blown away, but I think this kind of shows that with Nostr we are able to rebuild things if we want to, without centralized third parties, with just open source software that a user can run on their own hardware devices. And I think this is sort of the basis for sort of online freedom, because like it seems like every government is trying to attack their citizens in one way or another in this regard. And this might not be an issue today, but it might become an issue tomorrow. And hopefully Nostr will be there.
Building systems that are resilient in those world.
Not just like for social media, but for all the other things and niches where it just so happens that we are using the cloud services and they are winner-take-all things, that first they will attract you with cheap prices and high value that they deliver, but they then switch when they kill all the competition, and they switch and they start to abuse their power, etc. We kind of know how it all works, and Nostr allows us to build things differently. Maybe it won't be needed like tomorrow, but maybe it will. I don't know. And so
I think it's a good point, because a lot of people building on Nostr may not see how effectively we're talking about these very, in a sense, small focused building blocks, right? Like having an ability to log in this way is a building block to enable a lot of other things that could be built. But in itself, it's not that thing blows your mind, is that the whole foundation of building blocks, almost like we have now these decentralized kit of Legos and various kind of components that can be assembled and composed into things, but they're all very ideological in terms of like they're not going to be kind of centralizing oriented. They're going to be like decentralizing oriented. I think it's important.
And I think you wanted maybe to talk about open source and this kind of thing, and I don't have much experience with open source before I started working on Nostr. Like I didn't really contribute to anything mostly, and I probably published like a couple open source projects before that, and it feels really different for me, like as someone who mostly worked at closed source companies, and there's this interesting dynamic where, well, first of all, let's talk about the Nostr Connect adoption. Like when we built Nostr NSEC.app, and it's not usable by itself. It has to be properly implemented on the clients. And then I just go and I go through clients one by one and I submit like patches to them. And it's only possible because like they are open source. I can just go and fix things out there. And then hopefully my code out there is also sort of fixable by other people if they want to do it. And this kind of, it feels very different. It feels like you're not working into the corporate sort of machine which will probably evaluate your product after a while, and it may terminate it because it's not working, etc. But if this thing is open source, then you kind of can keep working on it even after, let's say, it's no longer sort of seen as a commercial opportunity, or if you lose that job and you just can just keep working on that thing that is interesting to you, and you can participate with other projects and you can improve them, and it all kind of feels very longer term focused thing,
Right.
where
Like
it's
the
not
work
gonna
you're
be
doing
dead because
can keep.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah I know that I will be able to keep working on it even if I don't have like an opportunity to do it full time. I can work on it in the evenings. And even if I don't work on it, someone else can keep working on it. And this
So it sounds like some of the
way of
satisfaction of the open source development for you, if I could just, what I'm hearing, I could reflect back. It sounds like the fact that when you do the work, you know that it can live on beyond, your own,
yeah
maybe
yeah
beyond your own focus on it, beyond any given corporate focus on it, and sort of maybe even beyond your own life, as it sort of takes other people collaborating and contributing to it,
yeah
taking its own direction. But you're building like for the very long term versus like just building some feature that's going to get thrown away, right?
yeah yeah. And this is one thing, but then there is another thing where you can be much more productive if you are like if your own product is open source, because many other products are open source and they require you to be open source too if you're going to reuse their code. But there's so much already. There's so much software written, good software written already, that being able to like reuse, remix this stuff easily feels like sort of superpower.
Right. So you started
And
from,
so
I think, your previous role before working on this as a project was, I think, fully closed source, fully commercial,
yeah,
and then almost everything you've done the past, what's it been, a year and a half or so, has been fully open source, if I understand. Is that accurate?
yeah. Well, we've got the thing that I started with is still closed source, like the relay that we have and several services around it, like Trust Ring
Yep.
and trending APIs. Though those are closed source, but the problem with them is that they are very tightly integrated and they are based on the code that is never been meant to be open source, etc. So it just makes no
So you'd
sense
have
to
to do more
try to
work to be
convert
able
that
to
thing.
make it
Yeah,
open
yeah,
source. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and the all
But
the other
then
stuff, the
I was just
client
say you
side,
you've
the
sort of had
client's
your hand
side,
in. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. I think
yeah,
we're bumping into each other. I was just
yeah,
going to
yeah, go
ask
on.
coming from open source and then kind of coming from commercial, then doing a bunch of open source work, but you maybe also would imagine commercial opportunities that may emerge from this. Like I wonder sort of how do you balance thinking about what can and should be commercialized and when it should be, or maybe you decided open source, you're just all in and you just want to work on that forever. So like I'm just curious because I think there's probably a lot of people who come with a similar path to you. They started fully commercial and then they dabble in open source a little bit, and maybe they do it with an eye towards getting back to something more commercial over time, but they want to make some contributions to figure out what to do. And I wonder sort of how do you balance those two things in your mind?
Well, if we talk about open source as a hobby thing where you just contribute because why not, or you build some project on the side, then uh, I'm sort of, I wouldn't myself put much hopes into that turning into good commercial opportunities, aside from maybe job offers from the sort
Hmm.
of niche where you're working.
Right.
Because like I've built pretty many side projects over the years with the hope of them getting any traction in terms of like becoming a business. And it's not easy with closed source, and I doubt it would be easier with them being open source. So in this regard, I would say it's just a different thing. It's just a hobby, and it can be very
Hmm.
inspiring, and it can lead to like connections with interesting people, etc. But from the sort of trying to build a business, software business, technology business, and choosing to do it with open source, I think I don't have a great sort of theoretical explanation for this, but it feels like, especially on Nostr, being not open source just uh, holds you back. It's just it's
Yeah.
a headwind, not a tailwind. And being open source
Right.
is a tailwind because, as I said, you can easily remix the work of others, and you can gain trust more easily because like all the code is open and you can verify what's happening and etc.
Hmm.
And Nostr itself, it's a very anti sort of lock-in, anti-mod
Right.
thing where your code being closed does not really give you too much because we're not
Right.
talking here about some really crazy R&D stuff. It's not like you have some secrets out there. Most of your
Right.
stuff that you put out there probably can be copied very easily if someone wants to, and that's the big difference. Like most probably your stuff is not gonna gain any attention, and nobody will care to even use it. Not to mention like copying it. So yeah, like if you're gonna build something on Nostr, then most probably you want to do it open source because it's much easier to join the ecosystem and like use all those things other people are working on and to pick
Hmm.
on others' code and to help their code develop and to have them help you. It's much more productive this way.
Can you tell a little bit about how the, let's call it the networking of open source developers within Nostr works? Like when you first came to it, do you first build something that you were interested in and then share it, and then that brought people to connect with you around how to use it? Or did you go find other projects that were already working that you were interested in and try to contribute or raise PRs around it? Or how does sort of the people networks around these various
Hmm.
projects, how do they evolve, and sort of, I guess, from where you started to where you are today, what have you learned?
I think the biggest thing that has to be said here is that the more like practical your contribution is, the more usable it is immediately, the better. Like if you have something interesting to build as a project, then go for it. If you have some PR that you can create for some other projects, then do that. If you've got some, let's say, bug that you have encountered, then go and file an issue properly, like with all the data that has to come with it. Uh, and then maybe as the last resort, go out and just talk about stuff like suggest ideas or provide just general feedback. Because all those people working on Nostr, they are mostly not getting enough compensation for it, let's put it this way, and
Mm.
they have no time to just talk. And if you show
Right.
sort of the proof of work and contribute to the best of your abilities, then they will accept you, sort of start talking to you, start uh, attention to what you have to say or what you're trying to contribute. And it's very open, really. There are very different people here and very different personalities thrive. Like I
Right.
see a guy who is like constantly very sort of critical and very aggressive sometimes and etc. But he is doing fine because like he builds some code and some people are using it and that works. Well, for a developer, it's pretty easy. Just like go and provide some good code, fix something or improve something, and it's a very good start. For
So it sounds like most of
none,
the networking actually happens on GitHub then. It's through
yeah,
issues and
I
PRs and
would
stuff
say
like
so. Yeah,
that. Yeah.
I think many developers, myself included, are not very active like on the social part of the Nostr because most of they are probably coding and the important things are discussed on GitHub or elsewhere. So yeah, sometimes it's just interesting to give feedback on Nostr, but the real work happens on GitHub or maybe some people
Do you
exchange
do
emails.
do you do any of the visits to the in-person events and stuff? Like I know we met in person at Nostrica. I haven't been to any of the other events like
I
Madeira
haven't been
and others. Have you?
neither. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been neither, and I hope that maybe I can visit some European event this year because we are now in Europe.
Nostrica, right, is happening
And
in late August.
yeah,
In
maybe
Latvia,
we're
I
gonna
think.
go there.
Yeah.
We haven't decided yet, but considering it. I'm not very sort of in person uh, person. I prefer reading about stuff because it allows me to like think it through. And
Yeah.
so the real life meeting is more about like just getting some human connection and this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, I know we've got a list of things we were talking about wanting to get to, but I know we're a little short on time to maybe hit everything. So I wonder if I could prioritize my own curiosity here,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know you mentioned Blossom, and it's something I'm very unfamiliar with, and I've read a little bit about it. I would say like my very raw understanding is that it's a way to sort of decentralize media serving, some sort of a protocol for
Yeah,
decentralizing media serving. But I'd love to hear more
yeah.
about
Well,
sort of, is it something you've already worked on or thinking about working on or?
I'm thinking about using it in our app. And so the problem there is that, well, it turns out that there is a NIP 96, I guess, which specifies the protocol for a media server. And there are half a dozen at least live services that support it. So if you wanted to like just have a sort of standard compatible media server solution where if your app needs to upload media, then it can just implement NIM96, become a client, and any server out there will be compatible. But that thing does not solve the sort of censorship resistance thing, where let's say Snowden uploads a controversial video and that video is taken down by all the major services. And sort of now what? Like how can solve this problem? And the
And so just
Blossom
to make sure
thing,
the way that would work today is that he might upload a video to like a Nostr.build or some other centralized media point, but then of course that one could be taken down or they could be sort of
yeah,
coerced into censoring it, right? So
yeah,
the way it works, say, like you can upload a video, but it doesn't have that censorship resistant property that the rest of Nostr is designed to solve. So Blossom now
yeah, that's one
fixes
thing.
this, right?
And then, yeah, this is one thing that it can be taken down, but another thing that it can be faked, by the way. Like you can upload it and then under your name, under your post, a completely different video can be
Oh, I see.
served by a server. And so with the because and there is no really a good way to verify that it is that same video because all the media servers today they will compress, transcode your stuff and even if you made a hash of it and posted it somewhere, hash of the original file, then the media server is not serving the original anyway, and there's no really any way to verify that this thing is that exact thing that I have posted. And it can be like, you can imagine like crazy scenario where the video is like transcoded, but then there is like 2 seconds cut out of it, the most important ones.
Right.
So it's from the Snowden may look at it and say, well, that's the same video, but actually it's not really. So this is sort of crazy stuff, but the point here is that Blossom is a very simple thing, which says that you upload, there is a standard list of like endpoints for a server, and you upload your file, and it is addressable by its hash, and it must be served without any modifications. Like it has to be served as the way it is, the original, so that a client could verify that the blob binary data that they received matches the hash that they requested and that was posted by someone out there on Nostr. And if you have that, then you don't have to trust the server anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyone can download this video and they can re-upload it anywhere they want. And there is no way to stop that. And then if those people not only upload it to a server, the Blossom server, but also post on Nostr, there's like a file metadata event which includes a hash, and it can be queried from relays, where you can say, find me all the uploads for this hash. Then this thing sort of becomes unstoppable, where if the file is important enough, then there will certainly be people who will re-upload it somewhere where you don't even like have no idea where it is. But the client can request the information just knowing the hash, and can find where the file is hosted now and can show it. So I think this is a
And so part
nice
of Blossom
thing.
is giving that mapping between, like, I guess the hash for the file is signed by, if I'm the creator, I've signed it with my NSEC, so I've signed the message, which has the hash, so you know it came from me, and you know it hasn't been tampered.
About that, to sign the hash, sort of, you can just post on Nostr. You can say this is the thing, and the URL contains the hash, and you kind of signed it
right
this way.
Yeah, not as like a separate step, just that's what's going on under the covers, right?
Yeah. So the NIP96 is almost a superset of Blossom if it only had this sort of option to ask the server to not transcode the file, to like keep the original. And this one little thing could give special sort of decentralized properties to those users who want it. Like if I know that this file might get censored, then I may request it to be served without any modifications, and this way make it more robust against sort of censorship.
So is it very expensive? Is there something in the way the protocol works that makes it expensive? Like it stores it more redundantly, or has some sort of, like you mentioned, the transcoding thing, which seems like transcoded for different.
It's more costly. It's more costly, of course, because you don't transcode it, which means that you're most of the time wasting bandwidth for everyone, like your own and your users' bandwidth. And so yeah, it's probably not like the default. It should not be the default solution to like uploading videos, because it makes no sense. It would be too expensive both for you and for users. Yeah. But for some stuff, and then there's another thing which is sort of I'm thinking about, which is link rot in general. Like you upload something, and if your hope is that this thing should live for like many years out there, then how do you ensure that all those things that relied on that sort of link to that file are still working in like a year or 2 or 3 without anyone doing anything really? Like, again, this approach that Blossom is sort of exploring might seem like a solution, where even if the file was deleted by like someone, by the server, either users can re-upload it to different server and all the apps that were relying on it would still be able to find it, or I myself can like re-upload it without having to go out and ask everyone to like fix the link or something. And then you should probably listen to the to the Hazard and Stewart discussion Blossom, where they have some crazy ideas about how it might sort of be improving the media serving in general. Although, as I said, like there's already NIP 96, which almost covers everything. There's just one little option missing. I think that's my sort of assessment. Maybe I'm not 100% right, but I think so. And so yeah, the Nostr kind of solves the metadata exchange part for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And this approach with Blossom, with addressing files with hashes and having a standard API and requesting that server does not change file in any way, it could potentially solve the sort of decentralization for file serving.
Right. I've heard some people talk about
that
media serving and decentralized approaches to media serving, sometimes having some inspiration from BitTorrent protocol. Do you know if this takes some of that inspiration, or is that a totally different approach?
I think it's a different approach. I think again, you should listen to those guys talking because they touch on BitTorrent and what
Oh, cool.
it
Which conversation
does or does not solve. Stewart and Hazard, they spoke with Odell, I think, the Citadel Dispatch.
Oh, okay. This is Citadel
podcast.
Dispatch. Okay, cool. Yeah, check it out.
And then right now, I think AB55 is also like interested in this BitTorrent plus something solution to media hosting. BitTorrent might be a part of it, part of the delivery of file solution. I'm not too sort of focused right now. Like I don't have this problem of, let's say, serving video or big pictures or something. I'm more interested in hosting code, really. Let's say you build an app and you want it to be available out there somewhere, the code of it, and it should be verifiably that specific version of the code. Like right now, you can include a link to some CDN, and you can even specify the hash of the file that it's supposed to match, so that CDN wouldn't be able to change it without your noticing. But then if someone starts using that link to the code hosted on the CDN and the CDN deletes the file, then all those things, all those apps are broken. Like you have to go out and fix them somehow. Blossom potentially, like this approach, maybe it won't really be Blossom, but just this approach that we've talked about, it allows any app to like figure out that if this hash file with this hash is no longer available on that server, then there is a path to like figuring out where it might be today.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of
there's a broader concept I've heard, which maybe you're touching on. I think I saw Callie talking about addressing ecache mints with Npubs and not IP addresses. And I wonder if this touches on a similar idea. Like, is there an addressing layer that's mapping like an Npub to an IP address and that's stored on a relay and can be changed? Or
yeah, well, that's kind of the it's not just Callie's. Yeah, I think Vitor has talked about it many times, and it goes like this: like DNS is centralized and KYC and paid, blah blah blah. So why don't we just have an Npub of the service, and then it can like write in its profile that my IP address today is this, or if the service uses Nostr to like connect, like Nostr Connect or like Nostr Wallet Connect or like some other connect thing, then you just let's sort of send messages to that Npub, some encrypted API requests that service might live in my like umbrella server without having a clear net IP address, really, like DVMs. And so yeah, I think this, especially with ecache mints and especially with all these attacks on Bitcoin and the probably Lightning Network is next, I think, on the list sooner or later. Like I'm not really anywhere deep into the issues with Lightning and its ability to be decentralized, but like from my understanding, from what I hear people say, it seems like non-custodial Lightning for daily use is sort of impossible without a Lightning service provider, where that's a sort of a big company with a lot of money, a lot of liquidity that they put into Lightning Network, and then they allow your mobile wallet to sort of function well. And that means that all those LSPs are like big corporate entities, pretty big, and they can be regulated. They can be attacked by government. They can be shut down. They can be forced to monitor their users, and Lightning is only private if like not every hop on your path is surveilling you, but if like everyone is surveilling you, then it's not private at all. And and here like it feels like ecash might be some way of like solving this, where well your ecash wallet has perfect UX because it's custodial. It like it works perfectly.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do any magic. It's just making API requests to the mint, let's say. And then the mint itself, it can be a proper always online node, Lightning node, managed by more or less competent person that doesn't need a Lightning service provider. And so the mint can be my gate to the Lightning network without using a big corporate entity, which is Lightning service provider. That's kind of my line of thinking here. And then if you have many, well, and for mints to be able to sort of hide and escape the same fate, it would mean that there has to be many mints with small amounts of liquidity, let's say, and each user would be connected to like 10 or 100. I don't know if it's possible to build a good UX in the wallet, but it feels like it can be done, where I wouldn't even really know or care which mints I'm connected to, how many mints I'm connected to, and I would be able to pay with Bitcoin without using centralized providers, that kind of thing. And then you would need those mints to be discoverable without DNS, without the ability to be taken down, sometimes without a clear net IP address, I guess. So, and that all, sorry, there's a lag.
Yeah.
And all that can be done on Nostr now.
Yeah. I think that it's pretty exciting to be able to abstract away the, the kind of ClearNet or kind of DNS system and be able to sort of have some abstraction layer that lets us become like more of a Nostr native internet. That's, I think, a very exciting idea. And I didn't realize there was so many different efforts that were kind of exploring that. So I had seen Callie talking about it. You mentioned that Vitor has done some work there. He was the original one proposing that.
I don't think he has done like a lot of work there. I think Pablo made a lot of work there with DVMs, or like with promoting DVMs, which are sort of the first more or less like known and talked about implementation of a service that doesn't have an API and DNS name and still can provide services.
Anyway, I think we are running toward the end of time anyway. Yeah. So maybe instead of launching into a new topic right now, this is a good ending point. I guess if people want to catch more on what you're working on, I guess nsec.app is probably one of the best places to start, and then nostr.band kind of is the whole portal to everything in Artur's world, right?
Yeah, well, I guess I should add NSEC app into the products menu of nostr.band. Otherwise, it's pretty hard to find. But there is a banner at the bottom, so I guess, yeah, people will be able to find. Yeah, and anyone having questions, just send them to me on Nostr, and I'll do my best to help you with anything related to Nostr band on NSEC app or anything else.
Cool. Oh, and one other one I want to mention from the chat. Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for coming. One thing I want to mention from the chat is Arkanox was asking, it would be awesome if you could put the big list of the nsec.app compatible things that I think you have it on an offline list, but he was asking if you could put it in the GitHub in a README.
I think there was a GitHub I think there was a GitHub page that collected all the compatible apps, and then there is a list on nsec.app homepage. Like if you scroll down, you will see the list of apps and short guides on how you can use this. And then there is nostrlogin.org, where you can learn Archinox particularly about how to like implement Nostr Connect into your app. That these are the places to start.
Sounds good. All right, with that, we'll wrap. Thanks so much, Artur. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you, David. Nice to talk to you. See you later.
That's it.